Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Libra energy, and we're going to do this 10 card spread. We're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because people are going to harness this energy differently, kind of depending on their emotional maturity level and lessons they've learned in life. Life is all about learning lessons, and some people are still more aligned with their more worldly, shadowy nature of self, where it is all about them and trying to manipulate people and control people and abuse people and be bossy and controlling because that's the way they think is just and fair. Because it is more about them and people should be willing to let them be that way, and they're going to probably keep living their life that way until they go through some painful life lessons to realize that maybe they should grow up and quit trying to manipulate and control people and quit trying to be more about themselves or thinking it should be more about them, right? But it can take a long time to learn some lessons. So other people wish them peace and the other people kind of move on with their life. And other people are more balanced within themselves. They know what it is about. If you're going to, that you should work together with people in a just and fair way, that you should be truthful and honest and loving and encouraging and supportive. And, there's people then in between the spectrum between knowing that and just being more self-absorbed and manipulative and self-centered and egotistical. And then we're trying to find the people that we kind of think have learned some of the same lessons we've learned that we can hang out with. So, Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice, can talk about that we all have our ideas of what we think is just and fair. Some people, their idea of what's just and fair is different than other people's ideas of what is just and fair. And, some people think it is just and fair to be more about them. Some people think it's just and fair to make your life more about the world. And that's the truth. And you should make your life about the world. And it's the ego and the image and the status and the money and the power, or the indulgence. Living the dream, indulging yourself. Life's just about indulging yourself, And other people might want a more balanced life. Yes, I live in the world, I want stability and security, but I'm not willing to sacrifice like love and deep, meaningful relationships. I don't want to be in jobs I don't love. I don't want to be in relationships with people I don't love. And other people are willing to sacrifice love for those things of the world, right? So, anyway, listen to your intuition about where you might be in the story. We all tap into Libra energy. It might be something particular that people who are a Libra sun sign or have significant Libra placements more struggle with, but it affects all of us just because we all have our idea of what we think is just and fair. So I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, which is the past life card. We'll all keep repeating certain patterns because it is how we view life, and we could have gotten some of those viewpoints about life from the life experiences that we went through, the family we grew up in, the community, the state, the country we grew up in. All of those different areas have their own ways of viewing life and what they think is just and fair, and what they encourage people to pursue in life as being just and fair. And, the whole thing is, are we going to let all those things kind of manipulate us, or get clear about what our truth is and make peace with the fact that everybody at every different stage of life, and decades of life had their way of viewing the world. High vibe energy wants to give birth to something new. Take the lessons that we learn from those life experiences and what we've learned from past life, living life during these different decades of life, to keep being motivated and inspired by love. The change card is Cancer energy, where we keep out of love, we can learn and take the good building blocks in the past, but we're all our own unique individual, right? And just because some people live their life a certain way doesn't mean we'll find that fulfilling or that we love living our life that way, right? And everybody has free will to live their life the way they want. And we can grow up in families and communities where the way they want to live their life does not seem to be aligned with our truth, right? And we can all want to get in the driver's seat of our own life and move forward in a way that we view as victorious and successful. But the devil can always be there to try to stop us, because shadowy energy is about not giving birth to something new, and it wants us to keep repeating old patterns. So some people could be struggling within themselves. They might want to move forward in life differently, but then either their own fears, their own insecurities, other people in their life, and it's that struggle between, I can want and love people in my life, but are they trying to manipulate and control me? Do they use the love that I have for them to try to manipulate and control me? Do they want me to indulge them in poor behavior? Do they want me to live my life like they live their life? If I'm not trying to control and manipulate them and I let them live their life, why do I let them control and manipulate me and tell me how to run my life? You know? And it's kind of trying to, with the snake card here of Scorpio. Scorpio talks about, we're these emotionally complex human beings, and it's confusing to work through all these things. And, we have all these different feelings towards different people. And there could be some people that we love and we would also like them in our life, but maybe we do feel like they're kind of bossy and controlling. And, then over here, we have the courthouse card, which is kind of like Libra energy, because Libra is represented by the scales of justice. And, we've kind of got to work through these things. And there could be things I would like to move forward with. There'd be people I'd like to have move forward with me. There's other people I could love that I would like to have move forward with me. And, high vibe people are trying to figure out who are the people who do work together with me. High vibe Scorpio, but the snake card reminds me of the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy. We have these different people. Aquarius energy can be a dream. We could have had a dream that, these different types of people were going to move forward in our life. And we could love them. And we could have these mixed emotions and complex feelings towards them. And some of the people we could have a more complicated relationship with. The devil can kind of be about what challenges us in our belief system, and we could have people we love, but their kind of way of operating in the world and is kind of challenges or contradicts our belief system and how we want to move forward in the world, which some people are more emotionally balanced, want to be in more deep, meaningful relationships, be in more just and fair and balanced relationships, but we can love other people and them not so much. Maybe they want to present themselves as being loving, like they look at life from a bigger picture, that, they love people, but it could be living more from their mind than their heart. Shadowy Scorpio can be that it's a little more emotionally shallow, superficial. It's kind of maybe more about the ego and the image and the status. And, we all have free will. The middle of the reading is the Leo card, which kind of talks about, am I more tempted in the devil by my more worldly egoic nature, or am I more challenged and inspired to align with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature? But the devil can talk about that. We have fear about doing that. And Leo energy also here represented by the sun. And high vibe Libra, which I view as, Libra energy, I view as represented by the King of Swords. Are we more about our public image and our persona? Because Libra can be like our public politician persona. Or are we willing to live our more high vibe Leo life, instead of being manipulated more by the world and our ego, to live our more authentic life? But, the courthouse can be that we can have mental conflict, that the fact that other people might judge us or might not like it, might get mad, viewed us a certain way, thought we should live our life a certain way. We might have even presented ourselves as being a certain type of person, driven and motivated by certain things. But, is that really our truth? Are we moving forward, kind of creating an illusion? about the book card is Pisces energy, which is about what we really find emotionally fulfilling. Are we willing to live our more authentic life? Or are we going to repeat a pattern of the past? Do we want to stay in our comfort zone and we have fear of moving forward in life differently? You know, there comes a time in people's life where they kind of have to make these difficult decisions, and it really can cause some people a lot of mental conflict and inner conflict because they're either going to choose to live more from their fear or their codependency or their ego or their lust or their greed or whatever, or they're going to be more authentically themselves. And then you have to have kind of offered love to all those fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs and your more immature, self-indulgent, prideful, worldly nature, to listen to your intuition, to see how those things kind of deceive and manipulate you. And then there's other people who want to be in friendship and relationship with you, who want you to keep being manipulated by those things, because then you'll keep aligning with them and stay in those jobs and those friendships and those relationships. But if it's not your truth, are you going to be willing to reveal your truth, or, you know, maybe make your life more about conforming to the world? And the poverty card reminds me of the Five of Pentacles card, which is Taurus energy, which has to do with our philosophy of life and the decisions that we make. And are we more going to conform to other people's expectations of us, people in our life or our family, more about the ego and the image? Or are we really going to walk the talk of, in high vibe, it would be acting with character and integrity and growing up and maturing yourself and being just and fair and holding yourself to a higher standard? And if we're going to do that, we have to detach. Maybe Libra can be about kind of wanting to go back and forth, like, well, how about I present myself as being more just and fair and stable and grounded and motivated by love and emotionally mature, but that's kind of just an illusion I create, and I really like to live more from my mind than my heart, more from my egoic nature, my more defensive nature, and I want to keep doing that, which is kind of playing both sides of the fence. I want people to view me a certain way. I'm going to present myself a certain way, but that's not really, that just tries to cover up the fact that I am operating more from shadowy energy. Well, for the people who kind of want to play both sides of the fence, be kind of two-faced, some of those people are going to have people who call judgment on them because they kind of feel left out in the cold with them. Shadowy people kind of create the illusion, I'm willing to bring justice to the situation. Your dreams will come into reality with me. You should move forward with me. Your dreams will come into reality. It'll be this, everything you ever wanted. But they kind of keep repeating some of these old poor past patterns and might want to keep it moving forward like that because they think that's just and fair, and they might, in their Taurus philosophy of life, they think that's just and fair. Isn't everybody want to move forward like they're victorious and successful in the world? The devil can represent all these things of the world. Isn't that what everybody does? Isn't everybody kind of living more from their mind than their heart? And everybody wants to look the change card with the vehicle there, of course, reminds me of the Chariot card, which can talk about things moving forward in a way that looks victorious and successful. But to have true victory in your life, it should be from a foundation of love. But some people, again, think, no, I can just create the illusion that I'm more emotionally balanced and loving. And isn't that what other people are doing? Isn't everybody more about themselves and getting in relationships and getting in jobs and all these things for their own more self-interest and how they benefit? Well, that might be how they think, and then they kind of think other people think like they think, but not everybody thinks like that, you know? But that's how they perceive the world. And, even if the devil was certain things that they make important in their life, that whether that's money or things that they like to indulge in to feel better, they can maybe not understand why other people don't make their life or go indulge in those things or make their life about those things. Why do those other people, they just don't get it as far as they're concerned, right? And they're still caught up. Shadowy Pisces can be being caught up in the illusion of themselves, caught up in the illusion of the world, have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. Everybody can have their ideas of what they think is just and fair, and some people think it's just and fair to not really be more authentic, to live more from their mind, create these illusions about the type of person they are, operate more from their more self-interest, ego nature, or defensive, egoic nature. And they think that's just and fair. But sometimes the people who really aren't authentically very loving and giving and encouraging and supportive, though, they want to be in relationships with people who are. Well, that's trying to kind of manipulate the system, right? I don't want to be more authentic and loving and warm and just and fair. I'm kind of a little bit more about myself and my ego and my image, or me being indulged. And I think it's great to be in a relationship with someone like that because they're very loving and nurturing and whatever. But I don't think I should have to be that type of person. But I think that person should kind of give up on their dreams, because I might think they live in fantasy land. And if they could move forward with me and I have these things of the world, well, they should kind of make their life a little bit more about me. Well, there's high vibe people in the world that are very loving, nurturing, victorious, successful, charming, attractive. They don't, those things are just like perks maybe about them. But the most important thing to them is love and believing in themselves, believing in their dreams, and being in just and fair relationships. And they don't think that because they have these certain traits, characteristics, or assets, that therefore they should be the more indulged person in a relationship. But some other people do. And some of those people aren't all that. Some people are just narcissistic and full of themselves, and they think everybody should want to move forward with them in a relationship. And everybody should love them, and they think they're the star of the show, you know, and they're just kind of immature. They indulge themselves and are self-consumed with themselves, and they think other people should be self-consumed with them, and in a lot of ways, people can have learned some lessons in life of they might have stability and security, they might have a certain status and image or social clout or whatever. And yeah, there's going to be people who are going to be drawn and attracted to them just like they're going to be drawn and attracted to some of the high vibe people. And sometimes we end up getting in some mismatched relationships. And it's all to help us get to be illuminated to the truth. Some people who are very loving and nurturing and supportive, they try to offer love and encouragement to people who might be a little more defensive or immature or whatever, trying to help them love and believe in themselves. Sometimes they deceive themselves and they get in more involved relationships with them, and they could partly do that because that is their comfort zone and they're used to being in relationships with people who are like that, and that's kind of the role they play in people's life. But they end up feeling kind of left out in the cold, and it's not the more stable, insightful, self-aware, loving relationship they'd really like to be in, because they got themselves in a mismatched relationship with someone who has a different Taurus philosophy of life than the Taurus philosophy of life that they have. And then it's to work through that to see, the only person I can change is me. Why am I drawn and attracted to certain people? Is this a past pattern? It keeps me in my comfort zone. I know how to work with these kind of people, or, but the thing is, it doesn't really challenge us, which is what the devil is about. It could challenge us in a lot of ways to be more patient, really, we learn lessons either way, whatever kind of people we get in relationship with. That's why I have two keys on the mirror up there. God is trying to illuminate us to the truth, and we can either take the easy path or the hard path. It doesn't matter. It's up to us. But we will kind of keep repeating some patterns. If there's some issues in our past that we maybe haven't even realized that they kind of manipulate the decisions that we make in our life, and if we have more hope and faith and belief in ourselves and in our dreams, or if we get caught up more up in our head, or if we're more focused on trying to change other people than working through our own issues, or being in relationships with people who do challenge us to work on our issues. So sometimes that's where it can kind of come across, and we wouldn't see it that way, but a little bit kind of from ego. Oh no. Oh, are these people here who are more just and fair and are more on the same page as me? I could move forward in life with them. But that does challenge me to kind of deal with my issues and quit repeating some patterns of the past. And it requires me to maybe step out of my comfort zone. And that's all kind of scary. So I'm going to let those people go. And I'm going to keep repeating this pattern where I'll be loving and encouraging to try to change other people. And then it's kind of being in your ego, like, well, I'm this very just and fair and stable and grounded and loving and supportive person. And them, they're kind of immature and kind of bossy and controlling or hurtful or unkind or more motivated by money or whatever, than love. And then, in a way, it can kind of be us kind of deceiving ourselves. And it's all part of learning these lessons. And we get in those more mismatched relationships. We feel left out in the cold. Then it forces us to think about, why do I do that? And then we work through our own fears and insecurities. And why won't I let people love me? But yet I can be loving to other people. And then because I get in relationships with people who aren't that loving, or they're immature or bossy or controlling, I feel left out in the cold. At what point do I decide that I think I deserve justice? And I've worked through the issues within myself that I'm willing to be in relationship with people who challenge me to grow and heal and mature and believe in myself, than being in. It's kind of like staying in a job that you're overqualified for. Oh, can I do this job? Yep, I could do it blindfolded. Why do we stay in it? Because if we were to go to another job that challenges us, maybe to stretch and grow ourselves, that's scary. So why don't I stay at this job? And then, I don't know, something like that. I'm sure you get the idea. Some people are moving forward with some people they either like to play that role with, or they're both more kind of caught up in the world, or they both like to indulge in similar things. We're all going to kind of move forward with people that kind of view life the way we view life. And there are people that are more about caught up in the world, looking victorious and successful in the world in their own way, indulging in things that they like to indulge in, kind of caught up in the illusion. The only thing that they might not be seeing clearly with this kind of the snake and the devil kind of being about things that manipulate us, and it kind of stops us from kind of growing to our full potential. And we could be repeating, staying stuck kind of in a time warp. And though, we all have the freedom to live our life the way we want. That's just and fair. You can live your life whatever way you want. It just might, it maybe didn't, it's kind of like, I sometimes equate it to apple trees. Okay. An apple tree doesn't have full free will. You know, an apple tree is like the seeds were planted for it to try to grow to its full potential, and it will bend around corners, you know, do all sorts of things to get to the light to grow to its full potential. But if human beings were an apple tree, they have free will. And they could be like, oh no, man, I got to this stage of life. I have gotten to 10 feet tall and I have 100 apples. Oh my gosh, I am living the life of luxury. It's like, yeah, but you could look at life from a higher perspective. That would be high vibe Aquarius. That you could grow to your full potential of like 35 feet and you'd have 1,000 apples. You'd have more than enough to give away to others. And it's like, well, why would I want to do that? For one, I have to keep having, I would have to have hope and faith and belief I really could do that, because unlike an apple tree, we're kind of not made to have to grow to a certain potential. It's just kind of what we put work and effort into and are inspired to put work and effort into, and kind of what drives and motivates us. But we could be a more life giving energy in the world where we are loving and encouraging to other people. And some people are pretty consumed with themselves, and they're like, why would I want to give to any of those people? What about just being loving and encouraging for them to love and believe in themselves? Why? I'm kind of like people to be kind of, you know, the devil's kind of self focused. I want people to kind of be more focused on me. Why do I want anybody else to kind of get justice in the world? Because then other people might want to move forward with them. And I want it to be more about me and people investing in me and focused on me. And look how victorious and successful I am. You should be my friend. You should date me. You should want to marry me. And it's like, uh, anyway. So that is how some people are. Other people have kind of worked through their more egoic nature, and they've are look at life from a little higher perspective, aren't as consumed in the world and themselves as some other people could be. Um, so some people harness a more shadowy Cancer, shadowy Capricorn, shadowy Pisces. Emotionally, they're more caught up in the world. Other people, in our worldly nature, we can all go through a stage of that because we do grow up in the world and we love the world and we want to go indulge in those things of the world because we're sure those things will make us happy. And we did, and we kind of saw through the illusion. If I make my life just all about me, other people don't want to be in a relationship with me. If I make my life all about indulging in these things of the world, that kind of drives my life into a little bit of hell. You know, there has to be some balance in my life, and it isn't just about me, and it isn't just about the ego and the image or the indulgence. It's about working together with people cooperatively and wanting people to work cooperatively with me in a just and fair and loving manner, and realizing if I want to be in those type of relationships, I should be that type of person. So the other people harnessed a more high vibrational Cancer, Capricorn, and Pisces energy to then look at life from a higher perspective and wanting more deep, meaningful relationships than a more superficial, shallow life. So again, harnessing a more high vibrational Aquarius and Scorpio energy to kind of see the truth that if they act in a more immature, shadowy way of being, you know, they can keep doing that if they want, but that's not their dream idea of the dream life. They want more just and fair and balanced and authentic and working more cooperatively with people. And they're illuminated to the truth that I need to heal from issues of my past. It's, you know, because when we're young, we can be very egocentric. And sometimes when we grow up, people can make us seem like the center of the universe and can indulge us. And we keep looking sometimes for other people to play that role in our life. And we're supposed to play that role in our own life of loving and nurturing ourselves, get out of more codependent energy where people move forward with us and indulge us in our more immature ways of being. That we learn, I view High Vibe Leo as loving yourself. You offer love and encouragement and compassion and forgiveness to yourself for these different stages of life and life lessons that you've had to learn. You're a fallible human being just like other people. You know, you made your mistakes, you got caught up in things, you worked through it, and you offer love and compassion and forgiveness to other people in your life. They're all where they're at, and will be where they're at, and we're at where they're at. And I've just come to a place of peace about it. Libra energy, represented by the Four of Swords, is healing from past pain and heartbreak, healing from my self-learning beliefs and whatever, just to be at more of a place of peace and just dealing with the truth, because the truth sets us free. And the sun and the key is about seeing through the illusion of our own ego, other people and their ego, and the world that tries to keep us in our ego, and our shadowy nature that tries to keep us more in our fear and our ego and our lust and our greed and all those things. That if I want true justice in my life, it starts within me, with this being like the Five of Pentacles. The fives talk about change. The only person I can change is me. And I choose to change me and how I think and how I feel and how I view myself and how I view the world. And everybody else can choose to do that or not. I'm at a place of peace regardless of whatever they choose. And I'm going to move forward in my life. And as I move forward in my life, I'm going to meet all these different types of people that are at all these different stages of life and learning lessons. And I'm going to offer people truth and love and treat them in a just and fair manner to try to work together with them to have more meaningful relationships and for dreams to come into reality. And there's going to be some people that are like, get away from me. If I can't manipulate and control you, I don't want to be around you. Get away. And if you're more illuminating and being in high vibe energy, get away. It kind of highlights the fact that I'm not in that energy and I don't like you around. Go away. Because then I can keep living in, the truth sets us free, but we can all choose to live in denial of the truth. And some people are like, no, get those people away. I don't want the more just and fair and balanced and loving and insightful and mature people around, because then I can hang out with the people in my life and we keep doing this and we keep believing we're these more emotionally mature, stable, grounded, loving folks. And we don't have people around us who are kind of illuminating that maybe we're a little tipped out of balance. And maybe we're kind of driving our life off into the ditch. But, kind of like, kind of the seeds we plant are what we harvest. And as they keep seeing that maybe some of the things that they are trying to harvest aren't quite what they thought, maybe eventually over time, just like the rest of us, they'll kind of see, maybe I should quit investing in that or those ways of being or those ways of viewing life. And maybe I should plant better seeds, because the only person I can change is me. And maybe they'll be illuminated to the truth that they were repeating some patterns or manipulated by issues or their lust or their greed and all that. And if they want to keep living their life like that, they can. If they want something different, then it isn't to try to manipulate and make other people change. It isn't about trying to get other people to love themselves or act a certain way or think a certain way. It's like accepting the truth when you meet people about the type of people they are. And more shadowy, manipulative, greedy, whatever people should see the truth. It isn't, and many times it's probably played out that they've tried to manipulate more just and fair people to try to get them to not love and believe in themselves, to give up on their dreams, to get them to try to indulge them in a relationship and we're in a workplace. And for a while they might, because they have that hopeful believing spirit, and they try to offer love and encouragement to people to move forward with them And then you kind of see that, I've been trying to make you go this way. You're trying to make me go that way. And eventually people kind of see the truth that our dreams are different. What we think is just and fair is different. And then people go their separate ways. And both people could feel a little left out in the cold, but the shadowy people, they're kind of a little bit more about themselves anyway. They'll just think I'll go find someone else to try to manipulate and control and create an illusion with, and I'll do this whole pattern over again. It's a little more challenging for the people who really do emotionally invest in people. High vibe Cancer, Scorpio, Aquarius, Libra, Taurus. They really do invest themselves in people. And then they have to work through the emotional confusion of the fact that either people who at one time did seem more stable and grounded, maybe because of some issues that they haven't dealt with, kind of made them kind of go off the beaten path and weren't being able to stay between the bumper lines of life, and or that they never were who they thought they were to begin with. And that's all kind of confusing, but there's valuable life lessons, like nothing is wasted. You know, um, it could have helped me work through a period of time when I was going through inner conflict. We could have been drawn together because of wanting to be in a relationship, and maybe to a degree, it helped us both kind of work through some issues within ourselves in a way that maybe we wouldn't have if we weren't in that relationship. Maybe it helped us look at life a little differently. Could have helped us have a little more hope and faith and belief in ourselves. High vibe people take the lessons that they've learned from it. And if nothing else, to realize that some people aren't who they say they are. Some people can seem very victorious and stable and whatever in the world, but they still kind of have this more illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, and you know and we take that with us in the next relationship, and it can take this time to reconcile through it, and then when you have come healed from it, then you're ready to go get in a new relationship. Sometimes if you get in a more mismatched relationship, of course everybody can kind of feel a little left out in the cold. Everybody could have some fears and insecurities and be a little bit in their ego. It's just that the high vibe people, would they like to be in loving, supportive, encouraging relationships? Yes. And they're not going to go indulge themselves to go feel better, because they've probably already done that before in their life and they know that isn't the answer. But the other people who haven't learned that lesson will probably go indulge themselves in something, not being truthful and honest with themselves or the people they get in a relationship as to why they're getting in the relationship. And it could all be because of ego. I want to look like I've healed. I want to look like I've moved on. I want to look like I was the more emotionally loving person, because how could someone else get in a relationship with me if I was like the villain in the last story? But it's like some people just wear a really good false mask. And the high vibe people are like, it sometimes it can be to try to manipulate the loving people to quit loving and believing in themselves and come back and do the relationship the way the more shadowy people want you to do it. And high vibe people see through it. They can be hurt by it. They can get in their ego about it. But it's like, people who love me don't want to cause me inner conflict. People who love me want to work together with me to bring a dream into reality. And these people, when they had the opportunity to move forward with me in a more emotionally balanced, loving way, they had some fears or insecurities, maybe about being more authentic, believing in themselves, believing in other people, believing in love. And all those things kind of got them up in their head, and they had the free will choice to choose love and to work together with me, or they decided I'm going to try to manipulate and control this person to get them to do what I want. And I will be hurtful, and I will be unkind, and I will be deceptive, and I will be manipulative. And basically, it kind of shows that they have their way of wanting to do life and relationship. You have your way. And they were clearly telling you, I am not going to do it your way. I have a way of operating in a relationship that is the way I think is just and fair, and that's how I'm going to keep moving forward. You can either work with me and move forward with me in that way, but I am not going to look at life from a different perspective and see what it is that manipulates me to detach from it, to move forward with you, acting with more character and integrity, or stepping out of my comfort zone, or not operating more from my ego or my mind or my fear, or being caught up in these things of the world is most important. That's not my truth. And as the other people keep living their life, the more the other people keep seeing, and it helps them kind of work through it to see that, yeah, we do have like view the world differently, and see that their dream couldn't come into reality with them. So they are willing to go through a period of feeling left out in the cold to get the justice they deserve. And some of the shadowy people in your life were hoping you wouldn't. And they purposely could have done things to make you feel left out in the cold so you would come back and do the relationship the way they wanted. And it's like, I'm not going to do that. You've already shown me the truth of who you are. I was already in it. I already saw things that caused me mental conflict that I didn't like, and I kind of felt you were more about the world, or in it more for the ego or the image, or are more about yourself, or are kind of deceptive and manipulative, or kind of immature. You just create a good illusion in the world that that's not the truth of who you are. And I kind of felt left out in the cold in it, and I didn't find it. Might have had a lot of these things of the world, but it wasn't equally balanced with the more loving, creative, inspired nature. It's kind of all more about the worldly nature. And I want a balance of both. Do I want these things of the world? Yes. But I also want deep, meaningful, authentic, loving, just, fair, balanced relationships. And you're willing to give those things up to have those things. You'd maybe be willing to indulge people for those things. You think other people should indulge you for those things. That's a shadowy Taurus type relationship where it's more transactional or more about the ego and the image. Hey, if that's what floats your boat and you think that's living the dream and makes you look like a shining star in the world and that you think will make you happy, if that makes you happy, then you do you. It doesn't make me happy. It's out of balance. So the high vibe people move forward. Shadowy people sometimes think that everybody is just trying to manipulate other people to get what they want and creating an illusion. And some of those people could see you moving forward, maybe kind of moving forward, having new beginnings, having hope and faith and belief in yourself, having victory over the devil, having victory over the world, your worldly nature, and other people who might try to tempt you in your more worldly nature, and you keep moving forward, loving and believing in yourself and believing in your dreams, moving forward with the people in your life who are loving and encouraging, and you kind of look like a shining star in your own way. And some of those people don't know how you did it because they thought for sure, you weren't doing life and going about it the way they were going about it, and they weren't in your life. And of course, they're the shining star. And how could your dreams possibly come into reality without them in your life? And they could not understand how you're doing it. And what they don't understand is that you were, oh, and they could just think you're creating a better illusion than them. Other people think you do still feel left out in the cold from them, but you don't. You've moved on. You've let go. I've seen the truth of who you are. You can go do that with someone else. I've detached and I've moved on. And what they don't know about you is that you work through harnessing this energy in a more shadowy way, worldly way, which could have been what made you at one time align with that way of viewing life. And now you harness it in a more high vibrational way, and they don't understand that because they don't. The moon. So the moon on the, oh, it does say Cancer on the card, but generally in tarot, it is the planet of Cancer, but in tarot, it generally can signify Pisces energy. What they don't know about you is before you used to be caught up in the illusion of the world and some of these people and thought you needed to work with some of these people or work with these things of the world in order to make your dreams come into reality. But you've seen how people who count on people living their life that way try to manipulate people to get them to keep making their life about that and buying into it. But you saw through the illusion. You're no longer in illusion. And you've aligned with your more hopeful, believing spirit, looking at life from a higher perspective. I could work more with these things of the world, and at one time I could have been more tipped in favor of that because we grow up in the world. We're probably going to do that the first 30, 40 years of our life. But as time goes by, I get more inspired to want the justice I deserve in the world. I work through how all these things manipulate me. And I realize I could either work more with the world, just like I could work for my more worldly, shadowy, egoic nature, but I have my more creative, inspired, intuitive, life force energy, and I can work with that energy in the world. And that's now what I'm aligned with. And that's the kind of people I want to work with. And now it's kind of like God at the big picture wants to give birth to new things. The devil wants us to keep repeating these old patterns. I can work with high vibe, creative, inspired, intuitive, my own unique talent, skills, and interests, my own intelligence, my own creativity, my own imagination, and invest my time, energy, and effort into the aligning with that within myself versus my shadowy nature, and invest more time and energy in my life into the people who are in that more hopeful, believing, just, fair, balanced, mature energy than people who aren't. And then we have this card at the end, which is the woman, which says Taurus. And high vibe Taurus is walking the talk. Shadowy Taurus can be more about being more emotionally aligned with yourself and your ego and your image and the world. Let them have these things of the world. You know, you can have all these things of the world and it's shallow and superficial. I want to walk the talk, be in relationships with other people who have learned lessons and are walking the talk, to be in relationships with people who aren't repeating old patterns but are inspired to create their own dream and life where it's not like we have to do this and we have to do that and because these people are doing that and because those people did that and because our parents did this. Let's listen to our own intuition from truth and love to work together cooperatively, and we give birth to our own unique, workplace, friendship, and relationship. Taurus kind of represents all those things. And other people aren't inspired to take more creative, inspired action in their life because that's scary. The moon can represent fear. No, let's go back and let's do this like what everybody else does or like my parents did it. Let's not be inspired to get our own justice in the world, living our more authentic life. Let's keep doing what everyone else has done and is doing because we're kind of in our ego and our fear about creating something new. And you're going to get the justice you deserve because you are not being deceived and manipulated by your more shadowy nature, working with the people in your life who aren't more tempted to align with their more shadowy nature, and working together with the people who do work together with you that way, and willing to accept the truth that some people, they're not ready to move forward with you. You know, you gave the best you could, and that wasn't good enough. Well, those people need to go find some other people to work with and maybe learn some lessons the hard way, just like the rest of us did, that they might have some issues they might need to deal with that so far they don't want to see the truth of or deal with. It's like, well, I've seen it over and over, so I'm going to let you go somewhere else. So, you know, that's when people depart from friendships, people let people go from jobs, you know, people move on from certain people because the other people keep showing them that, you know, do we all have to be the same? No. Can we live our life completely differently? Can we have different political beliefs, religious beliefs, different ethnicities? Can we all work together? Fine. Yeah. Because we all can treat each other in a more just and fair and act with some character and integrity. But some other people who might even be people who were in our family or we wanted to be in more of those type of relationships with, those people kind of want to keep cheating the system and be able to come with anyway. It's like you got some lessons to learn about being more balanced within yourself. And I have been trying to help you maybe see the truth or love and believe in yourself, but I can't make you do that. And until you kind of grow up or work through your own lack mentality or your deceptive ways or your manipulative ways or your narcissistic or egotistical ways, you know, I wish you peace, but I'm moving on. And then viewing this as like the Queen of Pentacles, some people wanted you, because I view the Queen of Pentacles in regular tarot as Taurus energy. Some people wanted you to keep playing a certain role in their life. It's like, that phase of life is over. If you were my child, you are not a child anymore. If there was a time I kind of indulged you more in a workplace or a relationship, you know, you were supposed to kind of pick up to speed and you chose not to do that and you thought you could keep coasting. Well, eventually enough is enough. And I don't want to be in a relationship with you. I don't want to marry you. I want to get out of a marriage with you. I don't want you to work here. I don't want to work here anymore. You know, eventually people aren't willing to settle for an illusion. Either people are motivated and inspired within themselves to work cooperatively together to bring a dream into reality, or they're not. What's coming up for the high vibe people that they might not see coming? The Seven of Cups, 2 cards not showing themselves because of love. So I view the Seven of Cups like the snake card, Scorpio energy. It's confusing again. We can have people in our life. We could love a job. We could have people we work with or in our community, in our family that we have love for. But, you know, some of those people have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. And we had to work through and offer ourselves a cup of love to work through that emotional confusion. And just to be willing to deal with the truth. Everyone has their illusions of the dream life, the dream relationship, what they think is just and fair. And there comes a time where we need to illuminate the truth that I don't find this just and fair. And I kind of think some of them always knew that. But if you weren't willing to illuminate the truth and you were willing to kind of keep moving forward, kind of ignoring the truth, kind of indulging in the illusion, it finally gets to where people can't indulge in the illusion anymore and they reveal the truth. And that can be when the more people who thought people were going to keep indulging them are like, what? What? I thought we were going to keep moving forward just like the way we have. Well, people can indulge people for quite a long time and then they're done. And then they're like, well, I can't believe that you're willing to deal with the truth. I can't believe you're going to move forward. I can't believe you're firing me. You know? And then they're all in their ego about it. But anyway, high vibe people offered themselves love to work through the illusion and the confusion. And because of that, they quit harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way. And what people don't realize is they're harnessing them in a more high vibrational way. The King of Cups and the Emperor, you could, more inspired, the Emperor's fire sign energy, which is kind of like what you're inspired by. You could have been someone who's very inspired by love. You gave a lot of love to people, thinking everybody's motivated and inspired by love, and everybody will choose love, and everybody will want to work through those issues that they know kind of sabotage a relationship because of love. And there's some people in your life that you came to realize that they seem like they were motivated and inspired by love, but the shadowy masculine cards doesn't have to do with men. When we present ourselves in the world, it's considered masculine energy because people don't really know how we think and how we feel. And so it can represent people kind of operating more from their egoic nature and kind of wearing a false mask. And you've seen through the illusion, you were trying to make good decisions in your life and in the relationship, motivated and inspired by love. And some other people created the illusion that that was their truth too. But you realize it's just kind of a mask that they wear. It isn't love that really drives and motivates them. It's for them to like be in relationships with people who are like that because it's good for their ego and their image and their status, and they have someone in their life who's being loving and nurturing to them. But it's not really the truth of who they are. They just try to create the illusion of that, and eventually the illusion isn't good enough. High vibe Leo, shadowy Leo, is kind of operating more from your ego nature and trying to create this illusion. And it's like the illusion isn't good enough. I really need to be in relationships with people who are motivated and inspired to be loving and giving and nurturing and warm and encouraging, because that's authentically who they are. Because that is authentically who I am. That's the environment and way of being I like to be. And I don't like being in relationships with people who try to use that way of being within me to try to manipulate me to keep indulging them in a relationship. And I'm done. And I've seen who is more authentically loving and encouraging and authentic, and I've seen who isn't. And I'm letting some people know who are more not, that I'm moving on to have a new beginning, and they can go find some other people to hang out with. And I think as you move forward in that energy, there's going to be other people that have gone through similar life situations that will want to be in friendships and relationships with you, who've also been in relationships with people like that, and they had to do all this work within themselves too, and they don't want to be in relationships with people who are just wearing a false mask for how they can benefit without being, a solid foundation is built on truth and love. And other people is built, they want to invest in it for other reasons. And then, because enough is never enough, and you're not loving them enough, and you're not making them the focus of a center of attention of their life enough, or they don't get enough attention. Well, you love me, but what about all those other people? Or I don't know if we're going to have the money or the status or the image. I could love you, and this is just and fair, but they're still going to be tempted to get more attention, more whatever, because they don't do this work within themselves to fill their own cup, and it's never enough. Until you learn to fill your own cup emotionally, be inspired within yourself to have hope and faith and belief in yourself and in your dreams and in love, you're always looking to other people to make you feel that way. Well, how can you keep siphoning off other people constantly without ever kind of incorporating that into who you authentically are? But some people think, but I think that's just and fair. It's like, then you need to go find someone else who thinks that's just and fair and go siphon off of them. Because shadowy people want to take, loving people give. What's coming up? for some people who harness some shadowy Libra energy that they might not see coming. The Ace of Cups. Why? Because of the High Priestess, which is Cancer Pisces energy. Shadowy people, there's always, just like all of us, they have the different types of people in their world too, just like we do. They have the free will to choose which one to align with and which one not to. Shadowy people, they kind of use their intuition in a shadowy way. Who do I think is loving that I think might have some fears or insecurities or pain or heartbreak? Kind of is caught up maybe in the illusion of love, kind of tipped out of balance, where they really maybe haven't learned to listen to their intuition and maybe stand up for themselves, and wants to be in a relationship that I can go try to make an offer to, that I think I can deceive and manipulate. And then they get in those relationships and they know the people that they're in a relationship with are loving, and again, they try to use the love that they have, that those people have, to keep manipulating them. I know you want this dream to come into reality. I know you don't want to leave. That's good. That works for me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. You keep doing what you're doing. And you stay right there and I'll keep doing what I'm doing. What they don't see coming is eventually people work through their own fears and insecurities. Yes, they wanted this dream to come into reality, but the dream keeps not coming into reality. And they kind of realize the dream isn't, they get illuminated to the truth, the dream isn't going to come into reality. And they decide, instead of letting more of their fear, their codependency, or their loving nature kind of manipulate them and keep them more tipped out of balance, they're going to get inspired to get more balance within themselves, so they're not indulging people in poor behavior, and to equally love themselves, and that I deserve justice and fairness and love, and for people to treat me in a way with character and integrity. And I'm going to work through reconciling myself with all of this, realizing I could have been repeating a pattern of the past. And my intuition is telling me, I'm going to maybe offer that couple love one more time if they haven't already. And if not, I'm leaving. Or I've already done that. I've already reconciled myself with that. I'm already standing up for myself and what I believe in. And then the cup of love is, I wish you peace, but I'm moving forward in the energy of love, and I'm listening to my intuition. And love is supposed to be just and fair. And people are supposed to treat you the way they like to be treated. And they're supposed to be just and fair. And they're supposed to act with character and integrity. And if some people want to live their life a certain way, that's okay. They can. But I've realized this isn't my truth. And at one time it could have been. But it's gotten kind of toxic or unhealthy. And that's when we try to stay in a phase of life too long. And it's our creative, inspired action telling us that if we want justice, we need to detach from some old ways of being that are keeping us stuck. And we're kind of listening to it to move forward, and other people aren't. Well, then I wish you peace. You keep staying in it if you want, but I can't keep staying in it because I think there's something wrong here that's not just and fair. And it's more out of fear, insecurity, or codependency, or toxic behavior, and I don't want to do it anymore. So out of love for myself, I'm going to move forward. And so the shadowy people never expect that, because they keep expecting other people, because they love them, to keep indulging them in their poor behavior. And what they don't see is there's always other bigger fish in the sea who are looking for someone like them to get in a relationship with, who also use their intuition in a shadowy way. So you're kind of codependent, you're kind of more about the world, kind of more about yourself, more about ego or image, or these things you like to indulge in. Perfect, you're my kind of person. I had some people I could have moved forward with too, but yeah, I didn't want to do that either. This is perfect. Yeah, I'll invest in you. I'll indulge you. Or these people will have to go indulge someone else. Sometimes a shadowy Taurus relationship is that they think because they have a certain status or image that people should indulge them. Well, that didn't work out. And they could think to themselves, I would be willing to indulge people. That's why I think it's just and fair. If someone else had more than me, I'd be willing to indulge them. So they think. They might have been deceiving themselves. And then they kind of realize there could be people they could be in a relationship with, or kind of thought they wanted to be in a relationship with, that would look victorious and successful by worldly standards, but they kind of weren't willing to temper their ego to indulge that person, because the person who has to indulge someone else is the person who kind of isn't being indulged and feels a little left out in the cold. And they could have decided they didn't like that. So for some people, they went to go pursue that. That didn't work out. So now they're going back to trying to find someone who will more indulge them. So they realized what was good for the goose wasn't good for the gander. They think it's okay and just and fair for other people to do that in a relationship towards them, but not for them to have to do that for someone else. So they'll probably go back to trying to use their intuition about finding someone else who they think they can get to maybe be more codependent on them. And I think if they get people who are more hopeful and believing in love, I think those people will feel left out in the cold and this whole scenario will play out again. If they do find someone who is willing to keep staying in a relationship with them, it might be because that person, it is more about the ego and the image. It isn't, it's creating the illusion of love, but it's more for the status or the ego or the image or how it benefits them. And they eventually might kind of realize, oh shit, I was I was manipulated by a manipulator. It's like, yes. And they're in the relationship kind of, you just kind of maybe go back and forth at, I don't know, appeasing each other, but you're really both in it for the ego and the image and the fear or the codependency. And eventually they both kind of realize that neither one of them has that creative spark and motivation and inspiration to operate from love. And it's kind of, it can look good by worldly standards, but it's an illusion. And everybody feels, because neither one of them are aligned with their more creative, inspired, hopeful, believing nature. So it's kind of dull and lifeless, and it's just all about these things of the world. And that's when, it's like a resounding gong. It's not love. And then some of them realize, shit, I repeated a pattern of the past. And I'm back in a relationship where it looks just and fair, but I feel in lack, even though I might have all these things that people should think that I should want, and I thought I wanted. And then if they have the free will choice to choose love, but a lot of them, the people in your life that are very about themselves or indulgence or ego or image, those things have too much of a stranglehold on them. They're sure those things are the answer, and they'll keep investing in it. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.